All right, hello guys. Hopefully we are live and everything is good on YouTube. I'm waiting for my laptop to pop up. It's usually what I respond to comments on and stuff. So, have you seen? I have not yet. I want to go see it, Jesse, but I have not yet. Hi Mar, how are you? Hi Kurt, how are you? Um, or Jesse, let me preference that by saying I wanted to see it, but I didn't really get the chance. I don't know if my comment went through. I did respond to you a lot, tried to respond to some of your comments last night on my other channel, and I don't know. Some of them weren't going through because my internet was terrible last night. But so all the showings around me was on a Thursday night, and I work every Thursday night. So I couldn't really watch it, and if I would have, it would have had to have been close to like where I work, and the closest to my work would have been like 40 minutes away. So by the time I would have been able to actually see it, it would have been like an hour and 25 minutes in. At that point, it's probably not even worth it. But seeing the two actors side by side, House of the Dragon did a great job making the younger versions look like the older actresses. I agree. Worst job for Aegon, Aemond, and Helena. Yeah, the weird thing about Aegon is he looks nothing alike. Like the younger to the older version, they really don't look alike. Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna hopefully log into my laptop. Hold on. Okay. Geez, I've been sitting here for over 45 minutes to get the show moving. Well, Matthew, you're just ahead of the curve. I could have been streaming about 45 minutes ago. I was playing Smite with one of my friends, and I made some tea before. So yeah. Recast of Kristen is amazing. The two versions look exactly the same. Yeah. Hi, Ghost. Hi, FaZe Diamond. How are you? But yeah, hi, Matthew, and hi, Jim, as well. Also, I want to preference by saying this is going to be on Alicent, like the Fire and Blood version. It's not going to be the House of the Dragon version, because I feel like we've talked a lot about the House of the Dragon version. If you guys do have questions on that one, I guess we could do that as well. I will say I want to keep this more to Fire and Blood because I kind of want to compare and contrast the two, like what elements they took from Fire and Blood that maybe they also didn't take from Fire and Blood. So, for instance, like there's just things where, for instance, Daemon and Alicent, there's a rumor that they possibly hooked up, which would have been a really interesting element to add. There's also this idea that Alicent was this character that was like, I don't know how you would explain it, but like this servant that was very close to Jaehaerys, and it's very suspicious, and there's a little bit of foreshadowing as to how she kind of comes to be with Viserys. So there's a lot of things that I think are different, and I want to kind of explore the book version and why I think, for me, I'm so passionate about the way they changed Alicent. And I agree, Holly, that I think show Alicent is better than book Alicent to a degree. Because the thing with what they do in the show with the book is we have limited knowledge onto Alicent's actual personality and what motivates her to become this kind of catalyst to a character like, say, Rhaenyra. And I love that what they end up doing with her in the show is they take events that we know happen or things that do eventually happen, and they build upon those and make it to where Alicent's character really does make sense. And that's another good point that Violet brings up, is that in Fire and Blood, the two are not of like the same age. They're not like friends or like almost like sisters, right? They're really two different age groups. Like Alicent's kind of like the stepmom. It's a very different dynamic, and Alicent's just much older than Rhaenyra. Did you play the? I have not. I actually don't even own that game, but I will have to get into it. Hey guys, don't forget to check out Greece's other channel at the Goblin King, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Exactly. Matthew knows. I really love show. Yeah. I already read that. All right, let me go back to getting chat on my laptop so it's easier for me to do the stream, and then we'll get going. We'll go through Alicent's life. Mother Teresa Alicent is not a great change to Alicent's character. This is true. But yeah, let me get that pulled up, and then we're gonna go ahead and we'll start diving into Alicent as a character. I feel like you paid Matthew to say that. Well, here's the thing, okay? Matthew was threatening to take my money in this game that I had never heard of before. Farkle, for anyone that's heard of it. So, you know, I feel like he owes me one. I just gotta fix Nightbot. I'm sorry for people that come in and Nightbot like just says nah, like caps warning. But yeah, hi, how are you, Shamik? I hope I said that right. How are you? Unrelated, but for Goblin King, you could do a read through of the histories of Middle Earth. I could do that. That would be good stuff. Good to do. By the way, Jesse, how does it make you feel that I keep saying Aragon? I know that's Aragorn, like, you know, there's the R and the N, but I've just been programmed to say that for so long that, like, it's hard to, like, break that. I don't know. Aren't the Hightowers more Valyrian looking than most Andal houses? I don't know about that, actually, Mystery. That's a great question. Chat, do you know the answer to that? I don't know about that. Let me pop. Okay, so we're gonna pop out chat. Also, we're getting a haircut Friday, guys, so you love to see that. It's starting to get a little poofy again on the sides again, and I don't like it. All right. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let me minimize this. Let's get into the notes. So, our beloved Alicent. I say beloved, even though I genuinely hate Alicent in Fire and Blood. Like, I respect her character and all, but you know, I'm a Rhaenyra boy, and I'm a you know, black supporter, and Alicent is kind of a problem for that. Also, I hope you guys liked. I'm getting like off topic a lot in this stream, but I hope you guys liked the collab me and House of the Stag did. I really enjoy doing collabs with him. He's pretty easygoing. He taught me some technical things for recording stuff, so I appreciated that. But he's not a black supporter. He's a neutral kind of guy, and that, you know, that's treasonous. So, I think Alicent married her children together to make Aegon look good, and she doesn't want Helena far from home. I mean, I think it makes sense, Holly, because it just adds more of a claim to Aegon just regardless. Because Aegon is the male heir, and now he's also marrying another one of Viserys' children, and he's playing more, or she's playing more into the idea that they follow the rules. They're the more of the Targaryens, or who should be legit, while Rhaenyra is, you know, quote unquote married to Laenor, but their children are probably Harwins, and then she, like, it helps her claim, or her sides of the family's claim, I feel like. I love how literal their house name is. Next will be Tame. Yeah. I do like, though, I think theirs works. Some of them, I'm like, I don't know if it would work that well, but I think I really like the Hightower name. It really fits, and it also comes off the tongue well. It's weird how most Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers pair off. Only ones who have multiple collabs. Yeah, it's weird because it's like, so I personally have never interacted with any other Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers, or like any actual YouTubers. I'm talking like established, like maybe YouTubers. I haven't had any connections with them. Even if you see people react to, like, say, streams of mine or whatever, I have no communications with them at all. And so, yeah, I mean, and then House of the Stag, I don't remember exactly. I just remember, like, he was in a comment section, and then I just know, like, he asked me to collab on one of his videos, and yeah. So, I don't know. But I will say, guys, I'm starting to do, I want to do, like, some reaction videos towards, like, either theories done by people or this or that. And I recorded one for If Dunk Lied About Being a Knight. I forget who the YouTuber was again, but I have him linked in, like, stuff, but I want to do some more of that content. I really like that content where it's either me, like, maybe making the counter argument to somebody else's, like, argument, or kind of putting in my own thoughts. I kind of enjoy that kind of content. I love Rhaenyra, but to be honest, she's a bit overrated. Now Visenya, that's my queen. Oh, Ghost, you're a sinner. You're a sinner. But here's the thing. Here's a trigger warning. I like Rhaenys way more than I like Visenya, but I don't know. Hello, sir. Love the videos. Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support as always. Let me go to live chat just to make sure I don't miss any messages. I know top chat sometimes screws things up. That would be great. Yes, love to see that, guys. I'm gonna, because I know you guys want me to do Preston Jacobs, like reacting to some of his theories or whatever, I want to make sure like I get people's permissions. And the person I did the first one on, I couldn't find like an email for them. I looked up like an Instagram, couldn't find an Instagram. So, and I've noticed they like stopped posting on YouTube. So I don't know. We'll see. Because I want to make sure I have people's like consent to like react to their content, I guess. See, that's something I wanted to explain on why she made the decision in House of the Dragon to marry Aegon and Helena, because her being a Hightower and saying how Targaryens have queer customs, like, what made her? I mean, Alicent's a very weird character. I'm struggling to speak. Because I think on the outside she goes like she's the I'm gonna follow all the rules thing and be the opposite of Rhaenyra. But in her heart, I think she wants to be more like Rhaenyra, but she can't be. So she has that jealousy. So I think there's that idea that like I think one, it makes Alicent's side of the family, like I talked about earlier, it makes them feel more Targaryen. When you're doing Targaryen customs, and the weirdest thing here is that Alicent comes from, you know, Hightower, you know, Old Town, all that stuff. And the Faith kind of just have a blind eye to this, while when Rhaenyra and Daemon do this stuff, or we see other Targaryens inbreed, they're not too happy about it. So again, that shows you that kind of bias there, what I think is interesting. In the book it says Viserys married them. That might be true. That probably is true, mystery. But that also makes sense if Viserys did it. Can we get a video about your... Yeah, I saw your comment, Kurt. I'm pretty sure that was you that commented that. I'm gonna do it. Side characters is such a hard one, though, because Kurt... At times, like, what defines a side character? Like, I don't know. That's a tough one, because there's characters where I'd be like, yeah, like Bronn, for instance, that's a good side character. I'd have to think about those, though. That'd be an interesting one. All right, so getting into Alicent's life. She was born in 88 AC to Otto Hightower. Now, the first notable thing that I think is interesting is the show went with this route that Alicent very much was a puppet for Otto, really. Otto was using her to manipulate and for his own personal gain, and for House Hightower. And what I think is interesting that the show didn't really touch on is this idea that Alicent was very much this servant, or I guess this companion of Jaehaerys in her early life. Like, Jaehaerys dies in 103 AC. So when Jaehaerys dies, Alicent is only 15. So with that being said, like, Alicent already was being put in a position where she's being very close to Jaehaerys. She became his constant companion, we're told. They would, you know, she would read to him, help him wash, dress, fetch his meals. And even in the end, like, Jaehaerys starts to think of her as his daughter, as one of his daughters, Sierra Targaryen. I hope I said that right. It's interesting the way Otto already was placing Alicent in this position of manipulation and underneath, like, royalty, basically. It's going to be the same, like, exact thing that kind of happens with her and Viserys. It's kind of a nice foreshadow in that moment. But this is what I think is interesting, the way we can look at Alicent's character, is that I don't really think at this point you can say Alicent is this conniving, really manipulative character at this point. I think the show did a really great job of showing that Alicent early on is someone that is molded by her experiences, and early on is really Otto Hightower who's in control and putting her in these positions. Because she supported her son Maegor. I don't know. I just like Rhaenys more. Visenya, it's just kind of that, like, wild Targaryen, like, that I'm just like, I don't know. If Stannis doesn't have a POV, he'd be number one. Fair. Alicent crowning her son was selfish, and there's no going back. Yeah, especially in the book, Holly. Her crowning Aegon in the book is way more selfish, because she has way less, like, motivation as to why she would, outside of just, oh, she wants her side on the throne. They give her a lot more reasoning in the show, but it's still selfish. I would kill for a Stannis POV before he dies. Yeah, Ghost, he's going to get a POV in his last chapter. Don't you worry. on trying to restore House Rain. Nah, House Rain should die forever. They don't need to come back. So at this point, Alicent stays at court. Again, Otto is made hand of the king. So we see the Hightowers kind of slowly, making another power play. Their first power play had been with Maegor and marrying Maegor to a Hightower. That was kind of the first power play. That one didn't pan out so well for a lot of reasons. And so this is kind of the second attempt, in my opinion. And we see some rumors that creep up that are very important. They don't really bear a lot of fruit on the actual story, but it's interesting the way that we see that there was this idea that Daemon and Alicent maybe slept together. It's kind of inferred by Mushroom that there was something there. And it makes it a little interesting as well when you see that Otto and Daemon hate each other to this point. Now, was it more on the show idea that, well, Otto Hightower is manipulating Viserys, so Daemon doesn't like that? Or was there more there? And either way, I think if you look at it from Otto's point of view, Otto realizing what his planning has been so far, putting Alicent in, bringing her to court, getting her known with high up people like Jaehaerys, which would then get her in the kind of eye of Viserys at some point. Putting in all these positions to eventually, try and get her married to the king, or maybe the king's son or daughter. Put her in a place where the Hightowers sit on the throne. For then there to be a rumor that she allegedly slept with Daemon is awful. Because that kind of is, it's the exact same thing they play with Rhaenyra, is that Rhaenyra is this whore who sleeps around and she's not, a virgin and all these things. That's the exact same thing that could be applied to Alicent if a smear campaign is done well enough, which never was. And that's kind of one of the big ideas there. And even when Viserys is having to remarry when his wife dies, that's one of the things that's kind of brought up is like, is Alicent really is she still a maid? Is basically the thing. And, it plays out kind of similarly as in the show where it's like everybody's saying, yeah, no, Viserys, you should date, or not date, marry Laena, this really younger girl. Okay, she's the only one put forward. And Viserys, I think understandably, I mean, it's a bad political decision, but personal decision. Alicent is a woman in her prime who is described as being like extremely beautiful. Or do you go for a child? It's just like the perfect play if you're Otto Hightower, right? Because Alicent's just been in this position for so long, she's able to then get into this position. But again, that never really bears any fruit. We don't know if this is confirmed that Daemon and Alicent slept together. We just don't really know. It would be an interesting another layer there if Alicent actually did want to marry Daemon or have a relationship with Daemon, but then she couldn't because her father just didn't want him or didn't want her to have that. And then Rhaenyra down the road is like messing around with Daemon and then marries him. That could be just another little wrinkle to her hatred of him. But I would kill for a young Griff POV. Could see that. Hightowers want to kill House Targaryen theory, or Otto wanted to be in power. So I think there is 2 layers to that. Holly. I've done a Maester conspiracy video before, and I think if you're looking at it from Otto's point of view, I think both served him well. On one hand, right, if he was to get into power, that's good for him. It's good for his family. And if you also look at the Maesters and or the Faith, you can apply both to this situation. Having the Hightowers on the throne is good either way. And then when I think about some of the situations that end up happening, whether that's with Rhaenyra, if you look at the people they want in power, they want the more passive Targaryens. They want the more peaceful people, the ones they're more friendly with. People like Rhaenyra, people like Daemon do not sit that part of it well. So what do they do? And what happens with Rhaenyra and some of these characters as time goes on? There are constant smear campaigns going on with Rhaenyra. Think about Rhaenyra, the way she's put on this pedestal of, oh, she's not sleeping with her husband or this or that. But yet there was a rumor, years earlier about the same thing, kind of with Alicent, how she had been sleeping around with Daemon, and that nothing comes of it. Nobody cares. So it's the idea of how do you amplify a rumor and how do you use that to your advantage? And that's really what the Greens and Alicent does. They really put Rhaenyra's life under a microscope alongside of Daemon as well, because Daemon is even worse in the Faith's or the Maester's eye, because he's this incredible fighter. He's a great dragon. He is literally how the Faith or the Maesters would view Daemon is the second coming of Maegor, just like Otto says. So they were going to try and smear him at pretty much any way possible. Like we look at, for instance, how he handles the gold cloaks. Yes, his methods may have been a little bit brutal, but crime was going down. He was punishing people that were rapers, thieves, whatever. Hi Casper, how's it going? How are you? I also like to make my own house. Just the thought of making your own house. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I really gotta check that out though. Ghost, what's your house name? Young Griff POV would be awesome. Agreed. I'm a big Young Griff guy. I can't wait to see how Young Griff and Dany interact. Hightower don't care about Alicent's kids. Her children are scarred or scared puppies not wanting to die by the blacks. I think yes and no. Because Alicent puts her kids in a very bad position. She openly basically says, you guys are going to become the heirs to the throne. You guys are going to be the ones that are on the throne, and pits herself against Rhaenyra. If they hadn't done that, then Alicent's kids would be fine. And it's something that they do really well in the show, is showing why Alicent has that flip on Rhaenyra because of the trust there. But in Fire and Blood, it comes off much more that Alicent and Otto specifically knew what they were doing. That they wanted their line on the throne, and they were going to depose of Rhaenyra. That's how it comes off. But I like Young Griff, but Dany is going to destroy him when she comes to Westeros. I agree. Unfortunately, I agree. In the show, at least, Otto's strings were being pulled by his older brother, so in a way, his brother pimped him out the way he pimped Alicent out. Yeah, that's kind of true. Kind of true, but I would give Otto way more credit. Otto was the one actually doing it. Hi, Ashley. How are you? All right. So, moving on. That kind of gets us to this point of marriage. So, Alicent, you know, how we just talked about, she gets into a marriage with Viserys. Now, this kind of is fine for now. Alicent and Rhaenyra have a pretty decent relationship. Nothing too bad. And then all of a sudden, it kind of flips with the birthing of Aegon, Helena, and the rest of her children. The relationship starts to sour. And you kind of see why. I mean, I think Rhaenyra looks at this as a massive threat. With Aegon being this male, and in this world where women usually do not inherit things, especially the Iron Throne. It causes a lot of tensions and rifts. And there's not as much detail/information as to why the two sides grow apart as much as there is in the show. In the show, they really do a great job. This is one of the things I like that they did, is showing the reasoning behind why Alicent goes against Rhaenyra, why Rhaenyra is a little bit, you know, going against them as well. I think they do a really good job of that. Alicent should have told Rhaenyra to tell her kids to stop bullying Aemond. I agree. I mean, I agree that is true. I think Rhaenyra's children should not have been bullying Aemond. Now, that's really only a show thing, I'm pretty sure. But on the flip side of that, Holly, it would appear that Aegon's... Or not Aegon, but Aegon was the one kind of putting them up to that, so... That is true, Leo. I agree. I agree. But that'll move us on. So this kind of leads to this idea where both sides are growing in tension. And you kind of see the sides splitting towards your people that think that Aegon, because he is the legit male heir of Viserys, should be the person that sits the throne. You have the other people that are like, well, hold on. Rhaenyra was the one named heir by Viserys, and that hasn't changed. So we should still be with Rhaenyra. And it kind of comes to this idea where you have a lot of people that are honorable to maybe their oaths or Viserys, and then you have other people where they're like, I kind of feel like the man should be on the throne type thing, or they are more friendly with, say, the Hightowers than they are Rhaenyra and the Targaryens, and you kind of have your sides formulating. And it gets to this point where Otto Hightower, so there's a different little thing that happens in the show versus the book. In the book, we're told that Otto Hightower is pushing so far on the matter of the succession and Aegon being put up as the new heir, that it actually pisses Viserys off enough to have him sent from court. He's not the hand of the king anymore, and all that ends. And then you also culminate with, there's this tourney that's held at King's Landing on the 5th anniversary of the king's marriage to Queen Alicent. And we see the two dress in very different apparel. One is dressed in this green colors of the Hightowers, and the other is in the black and red of the Targaryens. And this becomes known as the Blacks and Greens faction. And also I want to note, like, as we go further in this review or analysis, there are going to be spoilers for House of the Dragon, so anyone that, has, watched it and doesn't want to get spoiled or anything like that, we will be going there. Would you do a Helena character? I will. I want to go through a lot of these House of the Dragon characters because they're very fun to look at. It's fun to look at, like, the differences between what the source material has and kind of our rumors, and then what rumors say the show took, because Helena is a vastly different character that they took from the book to show. She's much more interesting in the show. They gave her a lot more to go on with, and in the book, it's like she's kind of just depressed. and again, fair enough. Like, she has every right to be depressed and all that, but she doesn't really have much of a character in the book. I've got terrible back pain. I may have to leave. Well, Ashley, I hope your back feels better. I also have back issues, so I relate. Alicent forgets that her children are more Targaryen than Hightower. How could they not want to be Targaryen? You get dragons. The blood of the dragon rules. That boring Hightower. I agree. But we have this tourney, and it kind of amplifies it because you kind of have the black side, right, trying to win this tournament for the blacks, and you have the greens. And at this point, we see that Criston Cole is still on the black side. He is still Rhaenyra's protector, all of that stuff, and he actually unhorses a lot of the queen's champions, being her two of her cousins and her youngest brother. So this is like kind of like a mini skirmish of the blacks and the greens, and we see other characters that kind of step in with Daemon, and you have the rumors of Rhaenyra and Daemon being together, and may have happened, may not have happened. I have always been someone that believes that nothing, maybe not nothing, but they didn't have sex or anything in Fire and Blood, in my interpretation. I would say it was more like Daemon was probably just was grooming her, which is just as bad. But it was one of those things where I think Daemon was establishing that relationship between the two for a future event, as we'll see. But also got my green tea, of course. It's really nice today, actually. But it could be very interesting, the idea that, let's say Alicent hears these rumors that Daemon and Rhaenyra are maybe sleeping together or something. If she actually had feelings for Daemon, would that have been another thing that would have made her not like Rhaenyra, because she would have been jealous? While, Rhaenyra is with the young, not young, Daemon's not exactly young, but Daemon is the handsome, fit dragon rider prince. He's not really, he's a prince, but he's still out of succession at this point, really. And she's got kind of the fat, overweight king that's not very good looking. Like, you could definitely see why maybe Alicent would be a little upset. Since Daemon's marriage to Rhea wasn't consummated, and since the Hightowers were close to with the faith, I'm surprised Otto and his brother didn't arrange for Daemon's marriage to be annulled, so he could marry Alicent since he was the heir. That's a good point. Well, it could be another thing is then that Otto just didn't like Daemon. Like, he didn't think that he would be able to control Daemon. I think that's the idea. Because if you think about, if the Hightowers want to establish their dynasty, kind of similar to like the Lannisters, for instance, with Robert, you want someone that you can kind of control and you can rule through. Because if Daemon becomes king, what that basically makes happen is that Daemon is actually the king. Otto's not going to be able to like manipulate Daemon and all these things. Daemon just won't put up for Otto's shit. So I think it makes more sense for just holding out and Viserys' wife dying. Because again, deaths while birthing happen all the time in this world. We see it in House of the Dragon. We see it in Fire and Blood. I think it probably made more sense for Otto to go that route. It probably even made more sense for Otto to go the route of, okay, well, if, for instance, Rhaenyra comes to the throne, try and marry one of Rhaenyra's kids to one of the Hightowers. So, I mean, I could see that ideology for Otto. Alicent went from survival to resentment to jealousy, now selfishness. I'd tell her to take a summer vacation and do what she wants to do so she can understand life is great. Fair enough, Holly. Agreed, Ashley, agreed. So, we kind of have like a rapid succession of things that kind of happen now with Alicent. And with this idea is that Daemon becoming lower in the succession, I think he really was eyeing up Rhaenyra as a future partner, depending on how things went. But yeah, so Rhaenyra then turns 16. And this is when I think is a very sus moment. Some people have pointed out, oh, well, Laenor was a good match for Rhaenyra, but it's not like how the show is. Where the show, it kind of feels like everybody... Some people just straight up don't know that Laenor's gay. Like, Corlys, it kind of feels like he doesn't really know that Laenor's gay, just based upon how he talks about it. Viserys seems like he has no idea that Laenor... Okay, let's say Laenor bisexual or gay, whichever. He doesn't know that. But in Fire and Blood, it's made very apparent. Like, there's literally this idea that they're in this council. And also, again, Rhaenyra is not part of this conversation. In the show, they gave this whole idea where Rhaenyra is getting to pick who she wants to marry and blah, 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 blah. In the show, or not in the show, in the book, it's literally like, yeah, let's all sit down. Who should Rhaenyra marry? Laenor. Yeah, that makes sense. And I've always kind of looked at this as like, yes, politically it makes sense. But when you look at the idea of, okay, Laenor is not going to be able to have children with Rhaenyra, more than likely, it kind of sets up Rhaenyra to be in an awful position. Because if you're looking at this from, say, the Maesters or the Faith or the Hightowers position, Rhaenyra not having children, or if she does having children, going outside of the marriage, helps their position a ton. So this is a perfect move for the Greens, for instance, because it kind of gets rid of this idea that what if Rhaenyra had married one of the other greater houses, right? And they had legit children? That would be a different question if, say, she marries Laenor and all of her children are kind of cloudy, because it paints Rhaenyra in a really bad position. So, again, this plays out perfectly. And I've talked about this for my Maester conspiracy, is that even the Maester in this moment is like, well, Laenor, he'll figure it out. I don't like fish, but, you know, I eat it. I think that's like the analogy. I don't remember exactly, but to me, it's one of those ideas. And it really feels a little suspicious, even though I get why the marriage happens, because Corlys was a massive threat to the crown at this point. Because of them being really the only other family with dragon riders and an incredible navy. They're extremely rich. It makes a lot of sense. I I've started to love green tea as well. I was a hater in times past, but since you have sworn in front of gods and men of the taste of green tea, I've given it a chance, and yeah, good shit. Yeah, Leo, what kind of green tea do you get? Like what brand? And also, I'm curious. Do you put sugar in it? I'm a big sugar guy. I like putting my sugar in the green tea. I think it taste a bit better. But I forget what it's called. I don't remember what the brand is called. I know what the box looks like. It's the one with like I think the bear on it or something. I don't know, but yeah. Uh, you think Alicent will be friends with Lena or Rhaenys? I think actually, given like a different timeline, I think Alicent, at least Alicent in the show, because again, we don't have a ton on the personality of Alicent in the book. It's very much left up to interpretation. I think Alicent would really like Rhaenys. I think the two would get along a lot. I don't know about Lena because Lena is more of kind of like a Rhaenyra type of character. But I definitely could see Alicent and Rhaenys getting on. I really wish we'd had seen a conversation between Alicent and Rhaenys, like a really good one, especially in the first 5 episodes when it was younger Alicent. Like how we got the scene of like young Rhaenyra and Rhaenys. I wish we'd have gotten that with Alicent. That could have been a really interesting conversation. Lord Goblin of House of Grease, how are you? Kurt, I am King Goblin. And I am the king of all the Grease goblins, which is all of you. But I get, yeah. I'm pretty good. Had a pretty busy day. Got a workout done. Recorded the reread for tomorrow, which was Catelyn 4. It was a really good video. It's basically where Catelyn is coming into King's Landing for the first time, which is pretty cool. Did some planning on what videos I'm going to do this week for my second channel, my Lord of the Rings channel. Again, if you want to check that out, it's probably in the description. If it's not, it's in my like last couple videos. And then yeah, so just planning those out. Probably going to record those probably not tomorrow, but probably Wednesday. But yeah. Yeah, overall doing pretty well. Also did some laundry, did some other things. I've always felt Alicent only encouraged Viserys to help in the Stepstones because the Hightowers needed Laenor alive to marry Rhaenyra. That's a great possibility. Yeah, I think that makes sense because when you really look at the situation of Rhaenyra marrying, it's a very dangerous prospect if you're the Hightowers because this is your biggest rival, and you know whoever they marry are basically going to be one of their closest allies for the Blacks anyway. So again, I think Laenor being that person makes a lot of sense. And I think the Velaryons as a whole were already leaning towards probably Rhaenyra's side anyway over the Greens. So I think it just made sense. You think show Alicent hates bastards just like book Alicent? Yeah, because inherently the way Alicent is as a character in the show is that she really likes following the rule, and she doesn't like other people being able to do things that she's not able to, like Rhaenyra, for instance. So bastards is not a good thing. So yeah, I would say she definitely does not like them. I like peppermint tea. I've never been a big peppermint person, just in general, but that would be interesting. A peppermint tea, that'd be interesting. All Rhaenyra had to do was take some of Laenor's seed and pop. Yeah, but okay, Matthew, that's so much hard. Like, I know you're probably joking, but that's so much like harder to do than just saying it. Like, because you have to think, right? Like, if Laenor is not someone that enjoys the company of women, how's that gonna happen? Because it's usually like pleasure, like how. It's going to be one of those situations where it's like, yeah, we need Loras to come in, get it going, and then do a quick little swap real quick, or have it in a bottle and then like do an injection or something. I don't know. Try apple cinnamon tea with a little. Ooh, Casper, that sounds good. Hold on, I'm screenshotting that. That sounds good. I like that. Casper, that was a great comment. That was the best chat I've seen all day. Her rule is solidified. I mean, you're right. Try honey in your tea. It tastes okay. All right. How much? Okay, guys, how much honey do you guys usually put in it instead of sugar? Okay, so you guys are really big on the honey. Okay, so how much honey do you guys put in? Like teaspoon? Like what are we talking here for honey? Talk about Griff. My boy. Oh, wait, are we talking about John Con or Young Griff? As in, I'll talk about both. Young Griff and John Con, they're going to avenge the Blackfire cause. Even though John Con doesn't know it's the Blackfire cause, they're going to just wreck some ass, and then they're going to get burnt to a crisp. There you go. There you go. So moving on. At this point, we also see the Kristen Cole flips sides. And this is very suspect. Very, very suspect. In the, I'm so behind on chat. I think my chat stopped loading there for a second. But it's very suspect. We're going to get into that in a second because I see how many comments I got to answer now. Rhaenyra was a fool for not having her children with a black bird. You can't tell me Laenor didn't have a trusted cousin he could have tried or turned to help them out. Great point, Ashley. That's a great point. Hey, I never said Rhaenyra is perfect. That's why I love her. Okay, she's flawed. Hi Grease just got off work at Skechers. Was excited to see a stream. Having love to see it, Evie. Always appreciate you. How was your shift? What about him? He's young and his name is Griff. Young Griff, it's not, but we call him that anyway. True. It just shocks that Alicent lived throughout all of the Dance of the Dragons, despite her being a major player behind it. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where Rhaenyra won. I don't think she wanted to kill Alicent. I mean, I think because her reasoning is like, for the love you bared my father. You know, she didn't kill her. I think it's one of those things, but also I don't think she necessarily wanted to kill Alicent. And also another idea, if you want to just get into like Rhaenyra being a cold bitch, is she wanted to basically keep Alicent alive to watch her family die. Like that's the cold version of events. Griff the Young. Team Danny or Team Young Griff? I'm just gonna add to that. I'm a Team Young Griff. Viserys is a great king, but Otto Hightower is a really bad hand. I think show version, you can make the argument that Viserys was a good king, dealt a really shit hand, and he made some very bad political decisions. Book Viserys, so Fire and Blood Viserys, he was a god-awful king. He was a terrible king. That made awful decisions. He didn't, like, this idea that, like, Viserys was a good father to Rhaenyra is not really present in the book. Like, in the show, it is. In the book, it's not really as apparent. Like, book Viserys, his popularity has gone way up because of the show. He's not that character in the book. And even in the show, I mean, the only argument you can make is that he kept the peace, but then he immediately dies and the peace is broken. So did he really keep the peace? I don't know. Same amount, Casper? Okay, cool. I'm not sure, Mar, on your question. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say Otto was a bad hand. I would say he was just too... Yeah, I would say Otto reminds me a lot of, say, Tywin, where Otto knows how to rule a kingdom fairly well. Like, Otto himself, if he had been king, actually probably would have been a solid king. But having this person as a hand is a bit risky because he's trying to gain his own political power, and he'll put that above what's good for you. So, again, I don't think Otto Hightower is a bad hand. He just, yeah. However much honey you want, I'd say less is more. Okay. Thank you, Leo. Young Griff is Azor Ahai. Confirmed. Laenor is infertile. Rhaenyra should have told the truth and have hard-run strong babies. The Greens would not stand a chance against the Strongs and House Velaryon power and... Well, here's the problem. Okay? If Rhaenyra goes around saying, oh yeah, they're Strongs, like straight up says they're Strongs, the last names, they're Strongs, the Velaryons at that point, I don't know if they would support Rhaenyra, because the whole idea here is that the Valarians are willing to go with these, even if they don't think they're Rhaenyra's children, but they have the name Valarian. So it's much more like that. It's kind of what Corlys says in the show. It's like a perfect representation of, I think, what his character would be in the book, where it's like history remembers the names of people, not exactly the blood, right? Like, if Jace would have sat the Iron Throne, he still would have been probably remembered as a Targaryen, not as like a strong. He still would have like had that Targaryen name. So one way or another with Kristen Cole, I am someone that I have a very different take than the way the show did. I am someone that very much thinks Kristen Cole came on to Rhaenyra. It's just very suspect that Rhaenyra is getting married. And then all of a sudden, Kristen Cole's like, nah, you should. Well, okay, one of the rumors is that Kristen Cole is basically like, you should run away with me and blah, 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 blah. And then the next time we see the two, or if it's Rhaenyra that wanted to sleep with Kristen Cole and Kristen Cole was just offended on his honor or whatever. Well, Kristen Cole's the one that's completely pissed off and Rhaenyra is not at all. It kind of seems like Kristen Cole's the one that got spurned. That's my interpretation, but. And another year passes, and we just have more growing tensions. It's like the American Civil War. I mean, a compromise happens, just makes things worse. That's really what happens here. In 115 AC, Alicent gives birth to another child, Prince Daeron, the best green. You cannot debate me. Everybody's like, oh, Aemond, oh, Alicent. No, it's Prince Daeron, okay? I don't give a fuck what you say. Daeron is the best green. It's not debatable. But as we move on, at this time, Rhaenyra again is popping out bastard babies. They don't look anything like Laenor. And Alicent knows this. Alicent's not convinced that these are fathered by Laenor, and that instead are by Harwin Strong. And like we see on the show, King Viserys just was like, nah, don't see it. Don't care. They're Targaryens. Young Griff is Targaryen or Blackfyre. So this is a personal opinion, because I did a video looking at both the evidence for both of the theories that he's a Targaryen, that he's a Blackfyre. I think it's like 50-50, personally. I think you can go either way, and I don't fault you. I want him to be a Blackfyre because I think it connects really well with like Dunk and Egg. And I think it's much more compelling. Everyone being the secret Targaryen, it gets boring. I like the idea that Young Griff is a Blackfyre. It makes it a little different. It creates like another Blackfyre rebellion, and it makes the like writing of Dunk and Egg and those Blackfyre rebellions much more impactful. It's like it's kind of like the history of Young Griff's like family of their failed rebellion. But yeah. God, I'm getting so far behind. It was okay, but I'm so tired. Well, get some food in you, Evie. You know, lay on the couch, lay in bed, listen to the stream. You know. So, Abel, what I would say that I think the significance of that chapter was, of the prologue of Dance, I think it was really foreshadowing to how Jon is going to come back, like how Varamir's spirit like lives on. I think that's what would be the main takeaway for me, and just introducing more of how skin changing works for Bran as well. Alicent is democracy. That is correct. Yo, Joe. Oh, word just came out of my mouth. Yo, Gigi, where do you think that House the Dragon ends? Massive spoiler. I mean, we've been doing spoilers all over the place, but I think a good place for it to end is kind of like a very eerie ending, where it's like Aegon the Third is crowned, and it just seems like there's an uneasy thing where it's like it doesn't really feel like the peace will hold, and it's like the Targaryen power has been decimated. There's very few Targaryens left, and it just looks like an eerie feeling. And leave it open, leave the door open, right? Put it where it's like, and this could lead to possible conflicts and even the downfall of the Targaryens. So that way it leaves the door open if you want to do a show based on the first Blackfire Rebellion. You can leave that door wide open. So that's how I would do it. Agreed, Ashley. Agreed. I think when third A becomes... Yeah, I think that's a good spot, Leo. I don't blame you, Ghost. And I think in the current story, I like the Blackfires more than the Targaryens, but I like the Targaryens' history way more. Now we see that Aerys was wise to refuse Rhaegar to Cersei. Yes. Tywin can be the best king. I think Tywin would be a solid king. He wouldn't have a lot of empathy for people, which would kind of make him more of a hated king, but you know, it's kind of like the same idea of Stannis, I think. If Alicent and Cersei swap lives, Cersei would cause a lots of harm than Alicent. I don't think if they switched, I don't think Cersei could have done what Alicent did. I think Alicent's a vastly more smart character than than Cersei. Aim to the psychopath, agreed. I think Crispy in the books was always a Hightower operative sent to seduce his way into Rhaenyra's pants, sully her reputation, and ruin her ability to be queen, thereby boosting Alicent's kids. I agree. I could see that. I mean, I am of the mind that he wasn't. I think he just had infatuation with Rhaenyra, and then he got rejected, and he was a little bit butthurt. You want to know why I make that claim? Because I see it all the time in real life. But yeah. But is he the no? I don't know. I think the Azor Ahai has multiple people. I think it's a prophecy like the Jedi say. It has been misread. I think it's multiple people. Yes, I agree, Ash. I can see that. I'm actually wondering why they didn't hold a second Great Council between Aegon and Rhaenyra. Well, because the Greens had it in the playing field, right? So the Greens, I think the Greens just realized that it's going to be a war either way. Rhaenyra is not going to take losing the Great Council. For instance, say she lost it, she wouldn't have just gone peacefully. There wasn't really a point. I don't think it would have done anything. Now, what you could say of what a Great Council would have done better, it's a risky play. It is a very risky play. Is that technically, if the Great Council, say, is ruled for Aegon, maybe some of the more honorable houses would see this as a decision that was made and would respect it instead of joining Rhaenyra. That's possible. I hate how they made Aegon the second a rapist. Yeah, I don't think that was a good move. I agree with you on that, Holly. Griff has the Blackfire sword, which is big a sign of Azor Ahai. Yeah, could be. Nightbot does not like you. Maidu? Lyanna's the most beautiful woman because of her sacrifice to the safety of the world, not because she's beautiful. Her father is not become. I think it's more like a hidden beauty. But here's the thing: like, she was this character that I don't even know. Like Rhaenyra or not Rhaenyra, Rhaegar probably thought she was beautiful, right? Robert did, but was Lyanna really that beautiful? That would be my only thing. Also, it could just be like she just got good genes. Just could be that. Hell no. Cersei played Game of Thrones so well. She's so smart. Hate to break it to you, but I disagree on that one. I think she played okay early on. Early on, I think she was okay, but she definitely did not play it well. His eyes are green. Grease, come on, big hint. Well, my chair's green. What are you trying to say, Ashley? Are you trying to say that I'm a green supporter? Um, Okay, Zach, the Dragon Knight. That's one thing. Everybody always like makes reference to English history. I don't know shit about English history, so I just gotta take your guys' word for it. Cersei would kill the Targaryen kids like she killed her own. Alicent Lannister children survived. Okay. The Blacks thought Daemon they can't do nothing. I agree. I mean, Daemon was a major part of the Blacks campaign. And that's one of the biggest things that hurts the show is that the Stepstones is what preps him for that. And that's something that they really missed out on. Alicent and Cersei interacting. Let that sink in. I think Alicent would probably hate Cersei. Well, David, that's a great point. Then I guess I would just assume Lyanna just got good genes. Goblins are there's literally hold on. Let's look at the overlay right now. There's a goblin. The background's green. Actually, the background's green. The goblin is green. It may be like a Ned Stark looking dude, but my lights, I usually have them on green, but I have them on white right now. And white, you could maybe be like the faith. So that's all I gotta say. What is the color of goblins? Well, mine are green. There are other goblins that are heretics, but you know. Rhaenyra is truly stupid. I disagree. I think she makes some smart moves, some stupid moves. I think she's kind of just there in the middle. Green chair, green tea. Maybe I'm trying to tell you guys something without telling you guys something. Maybe I don't want to be killed for treason. Be true. I agree. Daemon is carrying the Blacks. I agree. That's not why I like Rhaenyra. I like Rhaenyra because she's a very interesting character with how she deals with loss, betrayal, overall, like how she deals with things, especially during Dance of the Dragons. She doesn't handle it well, but I think it's very compelling. Imagine if Cersei got dragons, it'd be burn them all over again. She'd be rolling up to like Winterfell, roast it. I don't think so, Mar. On the Robert Hoster and John thing, I think yes, they did use some of those tragedies, but let's also remember, Eris called for Robert's head. So, and also Robert did, we know this for a fact, he did at least love the idea of Lyanna. So, I would personally say no. Fake black spoiler, you're just a plant from Otto. We have to end stream here, guys. You guys are asking too many questions. I think Ned, I think the reason that Ned did that is I think Ned probably came to some idea that he probably didn't want a big party figuring out this information. He could have at this point finally gotten information from Benjen on what was going on. Varys could have told him what was maybe going on there. There's a lot. Or at least an idea of what was going on there. Nightbot is person or bot? He is bot. He needs to get nerfed. I gotta fix him. I don't know. He's become too much of a dictator. I don't know. Would you consider playing the Song of Ice and Fire? See, I would. Okay, so I would. I want to get if I'm going to do that though, I want to get a little bit more in tune with how the game works before I did it on stream. If Rhaenyra, sometimes I even amaze myself. If Rhaenyra won the war and Daemon survived, do you think Daemon would have killed? No. It doesn't really make any sense to. Daemon still would have been acting as king. Like, Rhaenyra, if, let's say, she survives, she was already kind of this broken person at this point. And I'm someone that doesn't believe that he killed, like, Rhea Royce or anything like that. So, for me, I think that he would have just been the acting king, really. I think Rhaenyra would have just been this person that, yes, she was still queen, but I think it would have been really Daemon who was more or less pulling the strings. Tywin, as the Targaryen's grandfather, can't scare them with this famous stare down. Otto would give the Lannister kids the belt. Joffrey would be the favorite. Oh boy. Um. So why are you? What do you mean, Mar, by that? Um. Why don't you talk about your? I'm assuming you're talking. Why don't you talk about Euron? Are you trying to say Euron Greyjoy? If you're trying to say Euron Greyjoy, it's because personally I'm not as interested in the theories about him, and I'm gonna be. I think me and House of Tech are gonna do another collab on like Bran and kind of the everything going on there, and that's going to involve Euron as well. And I don't know, I'm kind of split on Euron because I think as a character, I don't know if it makes sense for George to keep him as a main villain going into the last book. So I've kind of thought like that he does this big sacrifice, he does these things, maybe he gets a dragon or he tries to get a dragon and he just dies by the end of Winds of Winter, but I don't know. I'm scared to anger Nightbot. Well, Nightbot just really does not like when people like put capital letters, like a bunch of capital letters or emotes, which he's got to be tuned down. I want to make sure I do that before next stream. Do you think Daemon survived his fight against Aemon? I don't think so. But I do think it's interesting the way that like we don't find Daemon's body, but we find Aemon's and all these other things. I do think it's a little sus. Do we know if Alicent had that serving girl killed or not? I don't know, Ashley. That's a good question. Oh, okay. So, Mar, I've explained this a couple times on stream, but the reason that they would fight, if we look at Rhaegar's last orders to his Kingsguard, so Arthur Dayne, everyone that was there, it would have been to protect them, right? Now, let's look at out of context. Again, they're at the Tower of Joy. They don't have all this information of what's going on. They wouldn't, like, knowing here, like, seeing Ned come up, they wouldn't know that, oh, he's here to blah, blah, blah. They would be looking at this as, oh, this is Robert Baratheon's right-hand man that he just got done being completely okay with the Lannisters killing children. So that's under his regime. I think they would look at this and go, can we trust Ned that maybe not Ned, but can they trust Ned to keep this child away from Robert? Because that's Rhaegar's last wish, again. That was his last declared thing. To protect this child and not give him to Robert or not have this child killed. And I think it could have been as simple as that. Where, again, this is the last Targaryen in their eyes outside of Viserys and Daenerys who are about to be sieged. So again, I think that it does make sense with context. Alicent is heir to the throne. You think she could do better than? Yes, I do. I love Rhaenyra, but I think Alicent's a better ruler than Rhaenyra. I don't think Rhaenyra inherently was a good ruler. But who do you think is Nettles and her connection to Daemon? Also, I can't wait to see her. So this is one I've also struggled on a lot. I don't know who Nettles is. I really don't. I don't have any theories for that. But on her relation to Daemon, I really don't know. I think with the way the show's going to do it, I think the show obviously is going to go down the route that Nettles and Daemon have this relationship. It's just been shown that Daemon has a lot of women and this thing. In the book, I don't know. I really don't know. I would like to think that Daemon was more like a father figure type to Nettles, and then when Rhaenyra basically says to basically kill her, I think it was more like a fatherly instinct, but it could, because here's my thing. If Daemon was just hooking up with Nettles and maybe like it was like his little side girlfriend, I don't think he would have cared as much about her. Like, I don't know. I could be wrong on that. You guys gotta let me know what you think on Nettles. Like, I don't know. I don't know, Young Wolf. Joffrey was pretty fucking evil. Also, he does have Valyrian armor. Well, Matthew, one of them went to the Vale. We'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Ramsay is also pretty pure evil. Saw a video where someone made a point that the Ramsay torture scenes were largely a waste of time, and the showrunner said a fetish for it. Are there any scenes in House of the Dragon that Fire and Blood readers feel similar? Okay, first one right off the bat. The whole foot shit with Clubfoot is weird, and I don't think it should be in the story. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's dumb. That's the one glaring thing. Now, I want to get back to your point about the Ramsay torture scenes being largely a waste of time. I disagree. I think they serve a purpose because when we look at Theon, and if we had just not gotten any Theon scenes, we get back to him in, say, season 5. Theon doesn't really look like that much different than Theon was in like season 2, for instance. It's because in the book, it's like very different. Theon's aged a ton. Theon is like missing like fingers and shit. Like Theon is this person that's not recognizable anymore. So in the show, I think they had to, if they weren't going to go down that route of basically having like just Theon looking just decrepit and stuff, they needed to do two things, because Ramsay is the next big villain of the show. Is the route that they took. So you want to show him as a hateable villain, and you also kind of show what Theon is being put through for that sympathy and that kind of whole thing that you get with that in Dance. So I actually don't think they were a waste of time. Maybe there was too many of those scenes, but I think they were actually needed. You think Daemon would kill Aegon II's children after he wins the war? Probably, yeah. I think so. But Ned's reputation would have been known to them. It's that put against the idea of Rhaegar's last wishes, and also the idea of who Ned serves. Ned is a very honorable person, right? Right? And he's a very loyal person and a very trusting person. Well, if his king, or the person that is deemed a brother, because again, Arthur Dayne would have had no idea that Robert and Ned were in a pretty bad relationship status right now at this point. They didn't, they were having a falling out. Robert was like a brother to Ned, and that was very well known. If Robert had said, hey, who's this kid? There is that reasonable doubt within Arthur Dayne's mind that Ned could give up the trap. So I get what you guys are saying, but I think if you look at it from somebody else's point of view, you could also see another flip side of that. Alicent, I agree. I don't think Alicent or Rhaenyra are great rulers. I think Alicent is better than Rhaenyra, though. I kind of agree, Ghost. I kind of agree. I agree with your logic there on why Daemon would kill other children. It could be. It could be bad writing from George on that point. I mean, I've made claims in the past that like there's just some things with Ned and like the Tower of Joy, and how he thinks about Rhaegar, or I guess he doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I think it would be cool if it was burned or killed by the burned man. I think that'd be cool. That's a cool theory, Ashley. I like that theory that Nettles is Daemon's daughter. I think that plays well into the idea that like they had more of a father-daughter type relationship. Joffrey was evil, but there was a reason. The incest and neglected by Robert. Well, with that logic, you could go, okay, Ramsay was born of Roose Bolton, who is inherently kind of an evil dude. He was born of rape. Like, I don't know. I mean, There's also some parental issues there, missing father figure basically for Ramsay. So I think you can make the same argument for if we're gonna go that route for Ramsay as well. Mar, I won't disagree with you on that. In the books, they kind of skip over the torture scenes, and we only saw the after effects. I think they showed it better, but I agree, Ghost. I agree, and they didn't just basically skip over the torture. They did. Like we like it's literally like Theon gets captured. Okay, we don't see him for a while. We come back. Holy shit, this guy is just different. Um, yeah, I agree, Violet. I agree with your sentiment. That would be pretty cool, Matthew. Is Rob the real bastard, Brendan's son? I think that's more likely than like Ned and Ashara. But I do think Rob is legit. I think Rob is legit. Catelyn and Ned's. I'm not exactly sure how the timeline would work with that. I'd be interested to see that though. The truth are there are no villains or good people. On that, I would disagree. Um, Joffrey, Ramsay, Euron are all evil. Like they're just inherently evil. Like whether they were brought up, a way or whatever, they have their motivations to why they are evil. They are evil. It's like saying, in our own world, right? There are no evil or good people. Well, Hitler was kind of an evil guy, regardless of how he was brought up. Whatever psychological issues that came with that, he was still evil. So I don't know. You think Alicent would back her kids and their dragons if Rhaenyra became queen without incident and head of Old Town? And head to Old Town? I think she would back her kids, yeah. Mara, I'm not sure on that one. I don't think she's going to kill Jon, though. Lyanna is quite young. I don't remember how young she is, but I know she's like in her teens, I'm pretty sure. I think Aegon the Second and Aemond are mad because their father neglected them, and Aemond was molded to be a protector of the family, just like Daron, who's a knight by Alicent's. Yeah. Isn't she 15? I think she's like 15, 16. I think you're right on that, Violet. I think she's like around like that middle. I meant to say pack her kids and head to Old Town. Oh yeah. I think definitely that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Holly, if think about it, if there's any like trickle in the back of your mind that people could come after my kids, you would also like move away or fight or do something. She definitely would do that. I think. Do you think young Griff can claim one of Daenerys's dragons? That would be cool to see, like a second. Yeah, so Ghost, it's definitely plausible because it doesn't matter if young Griff is a Blackfire or a Targaryen. He still, regardless, has dragon blood. He has Targaryen blood. So the question would be, how would that go? Like, if young Griff is just obviously a antagonist of Daenerys, like that's how they start the relationship, say. I don't think so, but let's say it was like maybe Young Griff, Daenerys, and they all go up, they team against the others. Could Young Griff like get close to one of the dragons? Because at this point, the dragon would view Young Griff as a friend. Could that happen? Yeah, I think it could, but I don't know. I thought Rhaegar was he like 20? Let me look up Rhaegar's age. Let me look up Rhaegar. I think he was like 20-ish though. Like in his 20s, early 20s. 23. That sounds right. But let me look it up just to make sure. So he was born in 259 AC and he died in 283 AC. So he was 20, 23, 24, depending on when his birthday was. Her feet are pog. Oh God. Oh God. Let's not get into it. Let's just not. Hopefully the stream is not lagging. It might be though. I don't know if it's lagging or not. Hopefully it's good. But, yeah. So, more or less, Alicent, after this point, like the start of the Dance of the Dragons, she really doesn't do much. Like, she's really not the person in charge anymore. She's... I don't know. She just isn't really a big part of this. And she kind of sits out... she pretty much sits out the war. And then she eventually does end up dying. But that is going to be the stream, guys. Thank you for everybody that came in. I hope you all enjoyed. But yeah, I really wanted to focus more on the idea of Alicent before the war, because during the war, she really doesn't do much because of just things that happen that I don't really want to talk about too much because they're spoilers. But yeah, 19, yeah, really young. I mean, again, Rob, when he goes south, he's 15, I think. But yeah, thank you guys all for coming in, and I will see you guys all in the next video.